Okay, thank you so much. I am Mridani Pandey from University of Allahabad. I am researching in the Indian foreign policy. I would like to start my presentation with a quote by Condoleezza Rice, who was the former U.S. Secretary of State. When diplomacy fails and war is too dangerous, sanctions are the bridge between words and weapons. Um, Through my paper, I'll be examining sanctions as economic weapons, focusing on how political competition influences their effectiveness or ineffectiveness, and how targeted states develop resilience mechanisms. Economic sanctions have become the diplomatic tool of choice in the 21st century. From Russia's invasion of Ukraine to Iran's nuclear program, sanctions are deployed with increasing frequency. Yet, their track record of achieving stated political objectives remains mixed at most. My central argument today is that sanctions function as economic weapons in a complex political ecosystem where targeted states can leverage domestic political dynamics, international partnerships, and adaptive economic strategies to build resilience against coercive pressure. So first of all, we would like to know what are economic sanctions, as we all know that they are deliberate government actions that restrict or eliminate customary trade, financial or other relations between sanctioning and target countries. It can be easily considered that the realist thinkers have, in more than one way, justified war. Because in order to understand sanctions, we need to first understand what war is. The just war theory, as explained by both ancient and modern thinkers, connotes a legitimacy to war when declared under certain circumstances and by veritable authority. Scholars like Saint Augustine, Saint Aquinas, Clausewitz, and Hugo Grotius stood for war as a vital step towards the development of superior values. Despite the contribution made by these thinkers, it has gradually come to the realization of mankind that war cannot be beneficial to any of the parties and has become sort of redundant. Therefore, in modern times, war is nothing but a dangerous distraction due to which nations go for refined alternatives, replacing military warfare with economic warfare in the form of sanctions. We can categorize sanctions into three main types. They are the comprehensive sanctions that broadly restrict economic relations, targeted or small, smart sanctions that focus on specific individuals or sectors, and secondary sanctions that penalize third parties for conducting business with target states. The logic behind sanctions appears straightforward: impose economic costs to change political behavior. Sanctioning states assume that economic pressure will either directly compel policy changes or generate domestic political pressure that forces leadership to comply. However, this linear model oversimplifies the political dynamics at play. Sanctions operate within complex domestic and international political environments, as we all know, that shape their ultimate effectiveness. So, what is this political competition framework? To understand sanctions, first of all, domestically, sanctions create winners and losers within target states. Some economic sectors suffer while others may benefit from reduced competition or import substitution opportunities. Political leaders must navigate these competing interests while maintaining legitimacy. Internationally, sanctions create a competitive dynamic between sanctioning coalitions and target states seeking alternative partnerships. This competition often determines whether sanctions achieve comprehensive economic isolation or merely redirect economic relationships. The resilience of targeted states depends heavily on their ability to manage these political competitions. Successful resistance requires maintaining domestic political cohesion while securing international alternatives to sanctioned relationships. Now I would like to talk about the mechanisms of state resilience. First is economic adaptation, which involves import substitution, development of alternative supply chains, and currency diversification. Russia's response to the post-2014 sanctions exemplifies this approach, with significant investments in domestic agricultural production and closer economic ties with China and India. Secondly, there is the political legitimacy management, which it is very crucial because leaders may frame sanctions as external aggression, rally domestic support around them, around nationalist narratives, or use sanctions as justification for authoritarian measures. This rally around the flag effect can actually strengthen rather than weaken targeted regimes. Thirdly, international coalition building, which helps targeted states break sanctioning coalitions. By offering economic incentives, exploiting geopolitical divisions, or appealing to principles of sovereignty, target states can fragment the international consensus supporting sanctions. Lastly, there is the technological and financial innovation, which enables sanction evasion. Cryptocurrency, shell companies, and complex financial instruments allow continued economic activity despite formal restrictions. North Korea's sophisticated cyber operations generate revenue while circumventing traditional financial systems. The effectiveness of these mechanisms depends on the target state's institutional capacity, obviously. It also depends on economic resources and international relationships. Authoritarian regimes often show greater resilience due to their ability to control domestic information, redistribute costs, and maintain political cohesion. In my paper, I have taken into view 3 case studies: Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Russia, since 2014, demonstrates comprehensive adaptation. Despite successive sanction rounds, Russia maintained economic stability through currency controls, import substitution, and pivot towards Asian markets. Political support for Putin actually increased initially, suggesting sanctions strengthened rather than weakened the regime domestically. Then there is Iran. Iran's nuclear sanctions show how technological innovation and regional partnerships can sustain sanctioned economies. Despite severe financial restrictions, Iran developed alternative payment systems, expanded trade with neighboring countries, and maintained oil exports through various circumvention mechanisms. Lastly, North Korea. It represents extreme resilience through autarky and illicit networks. Despite being perhaps the most sanctioned state globally, North Korea maintains regime stability through strict domestic control, limited economic engagement, and sophisticated sanction evasion networks. These cases reveal that sanctions often fail to achieve their stated objectives because they underestimate targeted states' adaptive capacity and the political resources available for resistance. So, what I would like to conclude through my paper is that first, sanctions effectiveness depends heavily on the political context in which they operate. Target states with strong institutions, international partnerships, and domestic legitimacy show greater resilience. Secondly, the assumption that economic pressure automatically translates to political pressure is questionable because and is often flawed because sanctions may actually strengthen targeted regimes by providing nationalist rallying points and justifications for authoritarian measures. Third and last, the international system's multipolar nature provides targeted states with alternative partnerships that can offset sanctions' economic impact. So for policymakers, this suggests that sanctions work best as part of broader strategies that address political as well as economic dimensions. Sanctioning states must consider target states' adaptive capacity and work to maintain broad international coalitions while offering credible incentives for compliance. The resilience of targeted states demonstrates that economic weapons, like military ones, face determined opponents who adapt and resist. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for developing more effective coercive strategies in an increasingly complex international system. Thank you so much.